Hi, and welcome to KTL News Now Live. I'm your host, Marlo Layson, and today my guest is here to share a very unnerving story that ended with her being arrested and with the potential of her being prosecuted for child neglect and child abuse of her three children. Today I'm joined by Miss Callie Stevenson, and she is going to explain to us all what happened when Shreveport police arrived at her home for one incident, and she ended up being accused of neglecting her children. Welcome, Callie.
Hello.
You're joined by Carla Collins, who is actually the person that shared your post that I initially saw what was happening with you through Carla's sharing of your post. So just so everybody knows who's here and what's going on. So, Callie, explain to me what happened.
It was July 5th. It was the day after 4th of July. That morning I woke and there was kind of disagreement between me and my kid's father. And basically what happened is it eventually escalated. Additional family members got involved, and it started with getting things taken from my home. And initially it was mainly the PlayStation because my kids use it to watch TV. I don't have a smart TV in the living room, and so I was more concerned of getting that back so that they would be able to continue to watch TV while I handled things that I had to handle that day. And mainly the other things I weren't concerned about, or what else was going on in the home, I was not concerned about. It was just that the situation had escalated between my kid's father, family members, and his kids as well. So I was just kind of in the middle of trying to separate everything, and it just kind of got to the point where I was like, we should not let this go any further. We need to get somebody to intervene so we can get things to end amicably.
And so through you trying to find an amicable ending to this situation and trying to kind of bring down the volatility that was happening, Shreveport police were called.
Yes, I did contact Shreveport police along with my child's father. We contacted them because we just initially wanted them to come and to separate the game. That's all that I wanted. I wasn't concerned about the other things in my home, the other things that were taken. We were just wanting to resolve that, get them their game so they could watch TV, and that was it.
And so when the police arrived, talk us through what happened. The police arrived, you've called them for one thing, and how did it end with you, who was trying to bring down a volatile situation, being arrested?
So initially, when they came out, I spoke with the female officer about the situation at hand. I explained that I just wanted one of my things back. Other things had happened, and I was not concerned about the other things. To which they asked, had anyone been hit? Well, why were my clothes tattered? And our clothes tattered. And I explained no, that no one had been hit. I was just trying to intervene and keep everyone separated. And from there, the whole situation just got quiet. And from there, they allowed him to leave. And they went back outside. I asked them, so in regards to that, how would I go about that? Do I need to file like a claim for that, or how would I go about that? And he was like, one moment, I can look into that. And he stepped away. When I came outside and asked him again about those questions, he asked me, did I have any kids? I explained, yes. I have 3 children that are in the home right now. My 3 kids, my daughter Barbie, that was one. My other daughter Cassiel, that's 3, and my son T, who is 4. And he asked could he see the kids, to which I proceeded to say yes. I invited him into my home. And he came, and immediately first thing he did was he went into the kitchen. When he went into the kitchen, he saw a couple dishes in the sink. Now, I like I told him, it's 4th of July. I slaved over a stove last night from 5 to 1 o'clock p.m. at night. I washed dishes, I bathed my kids, I put them to bed, and I breastfed my baby. When I breastfed my baby, I got up at like 2. My kid's father came over. They ate, and additional family members ate as well. And I went to sleep. And when I got up that morning, there were a few dishes in the sink. But as we all know, when you cook and you clean and you lay down, the kitchen doesn't shut off at night. The kitchen doesn't shut off at night. But I explained to him that I did soak one pan in there, and there was one pan that had been left in there, and it was seasoned, it was ribs. And he looked in the sink. He said, that doesn't look like he's just been there one day. I said, okay, so what do what do you want me to say? And I told him that I did that last night, and I had people over, so people are gonna eat. And then he proceeded to look at my stove. My stove was clean. He said, it doesn't look like you cooked. I was like, okay. And then he opened the stove. He looked in the stove. Then he opened my refrigerator. And after that, he went and he looked at the rooms. He looked at the rooms. He left in and out. Then after he left out, he just asked me about my kids. He's like, what are the names and ages? And I told him. And I forgot. When he went in the kitchen, there is an area in the corner that is missing crown molding. In the area in the corner that's missing crown molding, they have chewed through the paint, and basically there's another area of vents that they're coming out of the vents. Those were the main problem areas. But in his report, he tried to write it up as if they were just all over surface areas, all on the walls, even on coming out of the furniture, which was insane. I even uploaded proof of live footage from my home a day or two before of people sitting in my home. People sitting in my home, and you didn't see any of that. Now, when he proceeded to walk out, I went outside with him. He did not tell me anything that was going on. He just proceeded to talk to me, and I continued asking him what would I need to do about the game. And he just said, one moment, let me see what I can do. And I showed him some things on my phone. Then he was like, well, he didn't particularly say what's going on with the home situation. I kind of had to explain to him that they had turned the water off here. We had no pest control. We don't have trash pickup, and we don't have we're not having active maintenance on the property. So the things that you're seeing is a result of not having pest control, not having the leaks in our apartment fixed, and other apartments as well. And he just proceeded to walk off. He said, so the water was off here? I said, yes, sir. This is Village Square Apartments. I advocated for them. I went and spoke. I went and told everyone about what was going on. And he was like, okay. And he walked away. He was like, I told him that I was actually supposed to move July 1st. But the landlord that had promised me a house had told me that he went out of town and they just did inspection on the house, so I wasn't able to move then. So I'm still here, but I wasn't planning to be here. I started making preparations to leave, getting things in order to move as well. And he basically was just, I showed him the phone. I showed him the pictures of the house on my phone, and he scrolled through it on Zillow. He passed me my phone back. I told him that I've also made requests to get these problems fixed. I've also made requests to the city to get additional housing to get away from everything that was going on here. And basically, he just was like, okay. And so as they were outside talking, I was trying to get my landlord on the phone to tell him that I have arrangements. I'm actually supposed to move on the 1st, and I have started making preparations for that. And he didn't want to hear any of it. In the middle of me talking and showing him these things, he proceeded to take my phone and say, "I'll take that." When he said, "I'll take that," he took my phone, put it in his pocket, and then he walked off. And he said, "You can just sit in the car and cool off. I know it's hot." So I sat in the car, and I remember waiting on him to bring me my phone back, and just coming back and looking my name up, and I was like, "What is he doing this for?" And then he walked out again. He didn't say anything. Then he came back and he said, "I'ma just tell you now, you're detained." I was like, "Why am I being detained for 3 counts of child neglect?" And I was confused as to why. I said, "Why am I being detained for child neglect? You have not asked me any questions in reference to child neglect. You have not picked up my children to even say that they're being neglected. You put the camera on my kids. You put the flashlight on my kids as if they were animals." And just proceeded to go about your day. And he said that he didn't give me any details of anything. He just said, I just remember DCFS coming out, and when DCFS came out, they told me that he was charging me for child neglect, and he stated things such as that there was no food in the house, because the DCFS worker asked me, did I receive food stamps, and I told her, "Yes, ma'am, I received 976. And she was like, "Well, why is there no food in the house?" And I'm like, "No food in the house?" I told her I stayed over a stove all last night. I cooked ribs, cornbread, sweet potatoes, everything that you could think of last night, and they were fully fed. I said, "They're my kids. You can go up there. They're fully fed. They're bathed. They smell good. Those babies were perfect. Their hair was done." I stayed up till 2 or 3 a.m. doing that to make sure that they were happy, that they were full, that we celebrated together as a family. And then to have you come into my home and say those things, I just remember being in the back of the car about to lose my mind. I just was hurt, because how could you say that about my children? The things that the DCF people were telling me that was said about me and my children really broke my heart. And I'm not gonna even lie, like, to say that my kids' clothes are dirty when I ordered them clothes. I buy them clothes every day. I buy new pots and pans almost every day. I have to buy plastic utensils every day to get up every day, try to make it happen, to make the best of a situation that I've been trying to change and change. I told them, it's not my fault that I'm stuck in this situation. I've applied to Bayou Grande. I waited 30 days to move there. On the 29th day, they told me the people didn't move. I had to come back and get my deposit.
Let me just say this. Hold on, Miss Callie. This what happened to Miss Callie. This is not justice. This is injustice. This is the economic driven injustice. This is not my first go around with dealing with properties who have landlords who collect rent but fail to maintain their properties. But they go back home and they collect their checks. Okay? The morale of it all. You know, this is a ding against her dignity.
Absolutely.
You know, this is not a complaint. This is everyday reality for some of the residents in the city of Shreveport. Okay? So there is a huge gap in accountability.